Hey everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome back to the channel and Happy New Year!
You've probably been wondering what we've been up to because we haven't been posting on our YouTube channel quite as often as we were over the summer. We've been taking some time away now that the weather's cooler and catching up with family and friends and just enjoying, honestly, the fall holidays. Though we did come up to the houseboat a handful of times to watch football, watch the leaves change. We also winterized the boat and did some boat maintenance. And if you missed all that, you can check out the videos here. Those are some of our favorites that we've done. And generally, we've just been having more family time away from the houseboat. We actually took Claire out trick-or-treating for the first time because we missed that last year. That was a lot of fun. And we also spent Thanksgiving with our families here in Atlanta.
One thing that we were able to do was my parents watched Claire for a weekend away. We called it her vacation. And we had our first adult vacation, and we actually went up to Dahlonega, Georgia, which is not too far away from the houseboat. Right about the time that fall hit and the leaves were changing colors. And if you don't know Dahlonega, Georgia, there's quite a few vineyards in the region. So we had an Uber driver for the day and went to some of the different vineyards and really had a fun adult weekend out and had a great time. And we've also, as Jesse mentioned, we were doing Thanksgiving around town with family. And it was really fun this year. Claire was able to open up a lot of Christmas presents this year. I think last year she didn't quite get it. This year she's starting to get it, and it was really fun to be able to see the magic of Christmas through her eyes and getting to pull apart all the wrapping paper and the tissue paper. And she loves books right now, so she got a lot of noisy books.
Very into books.
And so she had a great time at Christmas, and it was a great year, and we're looking forward to 2022 and some of the new adventures that wait for us around the corner. In an upcoming episode, we're going to share in a little bit more detail what we've been up to the last couple months. It hasn't always just been hanging out with friends and family and holidays and trick-or-treating, but there's some other things, some exciting things that are happening for us in the first quarter of this year, 2022, and we're excited to share some of these updates with you guys in the next coming weeks.
But first, how was our first year living on the houseboat? What do you think? Did you do it again?
It was awesome. It was awesome. We had a great time, and honestly, who would not want to live on the water or near the water? And we're very fortunate to be able to do that. We've been able to make some absolutely incredible memories, and it wasn't without a lot of dedication and hard work. We were able to, for the most part, when the weather was nice, we were able to swim when we wanted to. We were able to take the boat out when we wanted to, and we were able to go houseboat camping when we wanted to as well. We're hoping to get to do a little bit more next year, more on that to come. But it was really great to have some of the flexibility just to enjoy everything around us when we wanted to.
One of the things we get a lot of questions about is actually what is it like to live part-time on a houseboat? I think when you live there full-time, it's pretty intuitive that like you're there all the time. But we get questions about how often are you there, when do you leave, and all those types of more like logistics questions. And because Trey can work remotely, and when usually I'm working, I can work remotely as well, but right now I'm full-time with Claire, it really is kind of up to us how often we want to be at the boat and for how long. And so to give you an example, the longest that we were there at one time was 10 days in August. And so then we would leave and come back to our house in Atlanta, and then we could decide when we wanted to go back. So in August, we were there a total of 20 days, but it wasn't consecutive. And it really just depends on what's going on in our life. So if there's something that we want to do here in Atlanta on the weekends, we'll be here. And there's certain things that, like if Trey has a really busy week at work, it's a lot easier for us to be here in Atlanta. Because it's just easier to focus, probably. Because I think Claire and I bother him a little more at the boat because it's a little more close quarters.
You don't bother me, but it's just it's hard not to take a little swim break during lunch every now and then.
Yeah, so we on weeks where it's really more important to focus, we usually aren't there. But that's kind of how it works for us. I would love to know if there's other people that do houseboating part-time and kind of what it looks like for them. We know that there's other people that are around us that come on the weekends a lot, which is great, and that's what works for their family. And then of course we have people that are there all the time, full-time. So you really kind of get a unique community when you're houseboating. And I think that's one of the things that's been really fun when we've brought people to visit us houseboating over the summer this past year, is I think it takes people a minute to really kind of take in that there's a community around houseboating, and it's not just like our boat on the dock. We are in very close quarters with, you know, our neighbors, and then there might be, how many would you say to like a dock?
Oh, there's probably over 30, probably 35 or 40 slips on our dock almost, I think.
Yeah, and then so there's multiple docks just in our marina. So if you multiply that by the other handful of marinas that are on Lake Lanier that all have houseboat communities, it's really neat when you walk in for the first time and you're like, wow, I can't believe like this exists.
Yeah.
And it's neat to see that on
really cool.
people's faces.
Yeah, it's been, over the last year, we've had the opportunity to really get to know our houseboat neighbors, especially those that are on the dock full time. Even our neighbors that come up just during the weekends. When the fall came, we watched The Nightmare Before Christmas. So the debate's still
really
open.
fun.
Is it a Halloween movie? Is it a Christmas movie? The debate rages on, but we put up a big sheet and watched that on the dock and popped some popcorn. That was a really fun time. So it's been great to get to know our neighbors. And if you want to get to know more about us and houseboating, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button. We'll be sure to continuously update everything. And you can follow us on Instagram as well, Deep Houseboat Life.
Oh yeah.
So we want to make this educational. Let's get to the meat and potatoes here. What did we learn, and what are some things that we're definitely going to do differently in 2022?
I think the main thing for us is that we learned, and I feel like there's no way to know until you know, that being a parent is hard. And you probably think we're crazy to also decide that we're going to live part-time on a houseboat while also becoming new parents. And we're going to be honest that we probably made that first year more difficult for ourselves, especially logistically and at times emotionally, but we're just learning to be new parents, and then we were constantly going back and forth between locations. And now that Claire is sleeping through the night and can pretty much sleep through anything, because in Atlanta we live in a construction zone. So yes, there's no type of construction noise that she can't sleep through, which is great. Which means when we come to the boat and we hear, like, you know, the revving of the engine, she's like, it's no big deal. So that's been kind of, I guess, a nice plus. But I think in hindsight, we realized that it was a lot more difficult than it probably would have been otherwise. But we're not complaining, because we went into this knowing that it was likely going to be difficult, and it's something that we want to continue to do, and we just want to be honest with you that it's not all like roses and a cakewalk in the park sometimes, but I think all the family memories that you make on the other end makes it really worthwhile, and I'm so glad we did it. But then when we look back on this past year, we're kind of like, I don't even know how we did it. I don't.
Big adventure.
Yes.
So we learned there's a couple things that we need to do to our boat to make it a little bit safer for our family and for any guests that come on board. There's a gap between the bow of the boat where you would step off onto the dock. Depending upon the wave action, the wind, the combination of the two, that can be a pretty wide gap. And unfortunately, Dory fell in there twice, and she was with us because we were getting off the boat with her, but she did not have her life jacket on, and we very quickly had to reach down, pick her up. Created a pretty intense moment of panic for us. And so one thing that we need to do is put a ramp that goes from the dock to our boat. A couple of our houseboat neighbors have them, so we're going to get some ideas of how to do that. And now that Claire's walking, at some point she's going to want to walk off the boat onto the dock. It would be very nice for her to have a ramp as well. And speaking of Claire walking, there's some stairs on the back and the front of the boat to get to the top deck. And we'll need to put some kind of gate up there so that if we're on the top deck with her, she can't come down. If she's on the lower deck with us, she can't go up. She's always supervised, but it's probably those 5 seconds that you don't expect it, similar to Dory falling in, where things happen. So we want to make that a little bit safer for guests, for friends, and family as well.
We also learned, and I especially learned, because you had already done this before, was houseboat camping is hella fun. Like way more fun than I ever thought it could be. and we just didn't do it enough. I think we really only did it one time. And I don't know why we never went back out. I feel like it was probably just because we were so tired being new parents. We just couldn't get the energy to go out and do it. So that's one thing that we really want to do more of this spring and summer. And one of our goals for 2022 is to get our inverter batteries fixed so we don't have to run the generator and burn a bunch of gas while we're out houseboat camping. And I think that will encourage us to actually get out more often and houseboat camp and do more of the off-grid lifestyle, because it's very kind of demotivating, I think, when you go out there and you just burn a bunch of gas. You just feel guilty, like it's not really what you want to be doing. But hey, you know, like some people don't have that option to do it a different way. So, but we want to have different options, and we also want to go find other beaches on the south end of Lake Lanier to do houseboat camping, because we know there's a lot of really good beaches down there and we just haven't explored yet. And so that's one of our goals, is just to get out and explore the lake more that way.
We learned that we also had some very high expectations for having friends and family and company over, and unfortunately we didn't have them over as often as we wanted to. And I really think that's because Claire was taking, at the start of the springtime, when we were going up there a lot, with taking 3 naps a day. She very quickly decided that she wanted to go to 2 naps, and now that she's finally down to 1 long nap in the afternoon, I think that'll make it a lot easier to have guests and friends and family up. And like we mentioned earlier, we could probably be on the top deck with the music up, and it might sound a little bit better than a construction zone and not keep her awake. So this year we're definitely looking forward to having more of an open invitation for friends and family to come up, now that Claire is down to 1 nap and she's full of energy, and people just love hanging out with kids sometimes. And so I think it'd be great for her to meet more of our friends and family and have those experiences on the boat.
We also learned that Trey can still drive a houseboat with thrusters. We actually haven't tried without thrusters. I bet you could probably do it. Maybe sometimes you can give it a try. But when we originally bought our houseboat, we factored in the price of thrusters into our purchase price. So it took us 8 months, I think, after we bought it to finally get both bow and stern thrusters. And Trey is a very good houseboat piloter and captain. Is that what you say?
I think so. We'll go with that.
That sounds good. I clearly don't know how to drive because I don't even know the right words to say most of the time about houseboats. I'm definitely the newbie here. And that's one of my goals actually for 2022, is to learn how to drive the houseboat. I can do pretty good once we've left the slip and we're out in the open water and there's not a lot of boats around. I have some confidence there, but definitely not the docking or the launching or any of that. So that is definitely one of my personal goals for 2022 is to learn how to actually pilot it.
We'll get you there.
Yeah, I hope so.
It'll be fun. It'll be fun. One thing that we learned, and I think we really surprised ourselves with, was being able to do some of the basic houseboat maintenance. I was able to change the oil on both the engines and the generator and the oil filters, and it's the first time, honestly, in my entire life that I've ever changed the oil on anything. And with the right equipment, it was actually kind of boring. You just sit there and wait for the oil to get sucked out of the engine. It was not very eventful. And my houseboat neighbor said that I shouldn't be as clean as I was after changing the oil. So I'm going to take that as a compliment that we did everything right and we learned something new. Some other things that we want to do this year, we want to keep learning how to do some more of the basic maintenance. I don't think anything needs any kind of big overhaul. Our air conditioner is leaking Freon, but that's a pretty big ticket item, and it's not something I'll be tackling by myself at all. But I think we've done a very good job of keeping the boat in tip-top shape, from cleaning it to maintaining the engines, and that's kind of the fun of tinkering with the boat.
Speaking of, we should probably go ahead and schedule our boat cleaning for the spring, because we learned the hard way that when we were trying to clean our boat ourselves, that we got all the way to the back of the line at the beginning of the summer, so it took a while after we tried to clean our boat and needed some help to finish it, that it actually got the job done kind of late into summer. So
when you
go ahead and schedule your houseboat cleaning now.
When you schedule it in March, it'll be July before you can get your boat cleaned.
Yes.
So I should probably schedule that now for an April cleaning maybe.
There you go.
And finally, we learned that we still need to be very conscious of what we're spending on the boat. It's something that we saved up for a long time and budgeted for. But there's always going to be something that pops up, so maybe the extra maintenance equipment that we needed for oil changes came out of the cost that we had budgeted for gas, because we only took the boat out a handful of times this year. So being conscious of the dollars that we spend on the boat, all the way down from the water filters, all the way up to engine maintenance and the larger things like having someone come clean and maintain the exterior of the boat, is something we're conscious of and we're watching very tightly. So in the next episode, we're going to actually go through everything that we spent in 2021, how that lines up for our budget, and if we think we've done a good job or where we can improve. We want to share that with you guys as well, because we know there are some people out there that are looking to be part-time houseboaters, and hopefully this will kind of give you an idea of what it may cost on an ongoing basis, so that you can budget properly and enjoy that time out on the water. So check back in 2 weeks. We're still crunching the numbers, and we'll be happy to share those with you. In the meantime, Happy New Year's, Happy 2022, and we'll see everybody in a couple weeks.
Bye.
Bye.